Welcome to AI Briefing. The content of the briefing includes SoftBank's Vision Fund reports another loss of $1.7 billion. SEC faces fierce pushback on plan to police AI investment advice. How the world lost faith in the UN. Hollywood actors reach tentative deal to end strike. NEF latest, Ken Griffin warns on U.S. spending as Clinton to speak. SoftBank's Vision Fund reports another loss of $1.7 billion. Bloomberg. SoftBank's Vision Fund reported a loss of 258.9 billion yen, $1.7 billion, in the September quarter, contributing to a group-wide net loss of 931.1 billion yen. The loss comes as valuations on some of its investments declined. SoftBank is attempting to recover after losing $53 billion in the last 2 years on companies such as WeWork. Despite the losses, SoftBank is pursuing new deals in AI and has made a series of bets on autonomous technologies this year. The company invested heavily in unprofitable startups from 2017, inflating valuations worldwide before they were punctured by regulatory crackdowns and interest rate hikes. SEC faces fierce pushback on plan to police AI investment advice. Financial Times. Brokers, hedge funds, and investment advisors have criticized proposed rules by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, that seek to manage the use of artificial intelligence, AI, in financial advice. The SEC's rules, known as Reg PDA, aim to address the risk that AI-related advice could harm investors. However, critics argue that existing rules already cover investor protection and that the SEC's definition of technology is too broad. The pushback reflects the cumulative effect of a flood of rulemaking from the SEC, with the SEC proposing more rules under Chair Gary Gensler than at any point since 2008. How the world lost faith in the UN. Foreign Affairs. The United Nations, UN, is facing a crisis of confidence amidst the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine, according to diplomats and UN officials. The organization has struggled to respond effectively to these crises, and tensions between Russia and the West have undermined discussions on unrelated issues in Africa and the Middle East. The war between Israel and Hamas threatens to further damage the UN's credibility, with the United States' unconditional support for Israel causing diplomatic damage. The divide among member states over the Israel-Palestine conflict has also raised doubts about the United States' recent push to improve its relations with the Global South at the UN, as some countries may reject future resolutions in support of Ukraine in response to the lack of Western solidarity with the Palestinians. The wars in the Middle East and Ukraine have put enormous pressure on UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and the UN's conflict management system, as unified support from the Security Council has been lacking and governments and warring parties have refused to work with UN mediators or demanded the withdrawal of UN peacekeepers. However, the UN can still find its footing by adapting its diplomatic and security roles to new global realities. It can focus on a limited number of priorities and hand off crisis management to others when possible. Furthermore, the UN can support other crisis managers, such as regional organizations and individual countries, and continue to play a substantial role in international conflict management through its relief agencies and efforts in conflict prevention. Despite the challenges it faces, the UN remains a crucial platform for cooperation and dialogue among member states. Hollywood actors reach tentative deal to end strike. Financial Times. The longest actors' strike in Hollywood history could come to an end this week after SAG-AFTRA, the actors' union, reached a tentative agreement with a coalition of studios and streaming services. The deal is yet to be ratified by the union's membership, but if agreed, it would end the 118-day strike which began on July 14. The strike has cost over $5 billion to the California economy. The disputes between the two sides included the use of artificial intelligence-generated digital doubles and demands for higher royalties from streaming services. NEF latest, Ken Griffin warns on U.S. spending as Clinton to speak. Bloomberg. Citadel CEO Ken Griffin has warned that the U.S. is spending like a drunken sailor and that there is a risk of a recession next year. Griffin called for the country to rein in excess spending, adding that executives should raise the issue's prominence. He also highlighted the changing nature of the world, with a focus on deglobalization and the rerouting of supply chains. Griffin's comments came at the New Economy Forum in Singapore, where other speakers included former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and UBS Group CEO Sergio Ermotti. Meanwhile, panelists at the event agreed that geopolitics is increasingly important for investment decisions. Mark Wiseman, chairman of Alberta Investment Management, said that today it may be all that matters as I try and make the calculus of risk and return and probabilities. The race to buy AI website addresses. BBC. Domain names ending in .ai are being sold for high prices as more AI startups look to secure memorable website addresses. The total value of all domain names featuring AI increased to $20 million in August this year, compared with $7 million in the same month last year, according to escrow.com. The second most used word in website addresses is now AI, according to Afternic. There's a crushing political consensus that Britain's destiny is to be poor. Telegraph. The greatest barrier to Britain's prosperity is the unwillingness of policymakers to make hard decisions, according to an op-ed in The Telegraph. The author argues that the problems facing the UK, such as low growth rates, can be attributed to a lack of productivity. They claim that the planning system is blocking the construction of housing and other buildings, choking off growth. The author also highlights the low levels of business investment in the UK and the high tax burden as contributing factors to the country's economic underperformance. They argue that policymakers could fix these issues by making technocratic changes, such as making tax relief on capital investment permanent, or by taking more drastic measures, such as cutting taxes or reducing the burden of net zero policies on electricity prices. However, the author suggests that politicians are unwilling to take these steps, resulting in the continuation of the high tax, high spend model and a lack of progress. Hollywood actors to end strike after agreeing tentative deal with studios. Al Jazeera. The Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, has reached a tentative agreement with major studios, ending a months-long strike. The new 3-year contract is valued at over $1 billion and includes an increase in minimum salaries and a new streaming participation clause. The union's national board will consider the agreement on Friday and further details will be released after the meeting. The strike has halted the production of hundreds of films and television shows. Striking actors and Hollywood studios agree to a deal. New York Times. The Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA, has reached a tentative deal for a new contract with entertainment companies, ending one of the longest labor crises in Hollywood history. The movie and television industry has been largely at a standstill since May, following strikes by writers and actors over a lack of streaming service pay and fears of the rise of artificial intelligence. The Writers Guild of America ended its 148-day strike last month after reaching a tentative agreement with studios. The SAG-AFTRA deal, which includes increased compensation for streaming shows and films, better healthcare funding, and guarantees that studios will not use artificial intelligence to create digital replicas without payment or approval, will now be voted on by SAG-AFTRA members. However, the union failed to secure a percentage of streaming service revenue. China's AI approach should be lighter, more nimble, advisor says. South China Morning Post. Beijing should prioritize opening up public data and loosening regulations on the digital economy, especially regarding artificial intelligence, AI, in order to boost innovation and private investment, according to Chen Chongqing, deputy director at the Development Research Center of the State Council. Chen argued that regulators should let most areas remain open and make small, quick adjustments along the way as technology is implemented in the market. The push for openness comes as China seeks a sustainable development path through technological innovation and as it competes with the US in the tech industry, particularly in AI. Actors' strike is over. Associated Press. Hollywood's Actors Union, the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Performers, SAG-AFTRA, has reached a tentative deal with studios to end its strike. The 3-year contract agreement must be approved by votes from the union's board and members. The terms of the agreement have not yet been released. The strike, which began on July 14, involved over 60,000 actors and was the longest ever for film and television actors. UK sees fully self-driving cars hitting its roads around 2026. Bloomberg. The UK's Transport Secretary, Mark Harper, has said that self-driving cars could be on the country's roads by 2026. The announcement came as part of the Automated Vehicles Bill, which creates a legal safety threshold for self-driving vehicle manufacturers and places liability for the vehicle's behavior on the manufacturer. The bill will also outlaw misleading marketing practices. The government hopes to create a £42 billion, $51.6 billion, autonomous vehicle industry with 38,000 jobs by 2035. The bill will need to pass through Parliament before coming into law. Airbnb boss listening to cities' housing concerns. BBC. Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky has denied that the platform creates housing shortages in cities like New York. The company has faced criticism that it exacerbates rising rents in urban areas across the U.S. Chesky acknowledged that there can be unintended consequences resulting from Airbnb's popularity, but stated that the firm is always looking to listen, understand, and adapt to issues raised by cities. Airbnb is adjusting to new regulations in New York City that ban most stays under 30 days. Hosts must register with the relevant authority and be present during a guest's stay. AI, which rules do the top tech moguls want? Deutsche Welle. The CEOs of major tech companies, including Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and Dario Amodei, have emerged as influential voices in the debate over AI regulation. However, researchers and activists warn of the growing influence of big tech, particularly American companies, and the potential overshadowing of critical issues such as privacy and worker protection. Critics argue that these CEOs deflect attention from pressing technological concerns and may not adequately represent diverse voices in society. Policymakers are urged to maintain their independence and not allow corporate entities to dictate policy. Google argues search payments are necessary to support Android. Bloomberg. Google has argued that the billions of dollars it pays to smartphone makers and wireless carriers in revenue share payments ensures that these companies innovate and support the Android software ecosystem. The company's executive, Jamie Rosenberg, stated that the payments help Google compete against Apple's iPhone. The testimony was given during the Justice Department's antitrust trial against Google. The department claims that Google's payments to companies such as Apple and Samsung to be the default search engine on mobile phones and PCs has blocked rivals from competing. Well, what do we have here? SoftBank's Vision Fund reporting yet another loss of $1.7 billion. It seems like SoftBank just can't catch a break after losing $53 billion in the last 2 years. Maybe they should stick to investing in companies that actually turn a profit? Just a thought. But hey, at least they're still pursuing new deals in AI and autonomous technologies. Maybe they'll strike gold with one of those. Or maybe not. In other news, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, is facing some fierce pushback on its plan to police AI investment advice. Brokers, hedge funds, and investment advisors are arguing that existing rules already cover investor protection and that the SEC's definition of technology is too broad. I have to say, it's quite entertaining to watch the SEC try to keep up with the rapidly evolving world of AI. Maybe they should hire some AI experts to help them out. Speaking of things losing their appeal, the United Nations, UN, seems to be losing faith from all sides. With ongoing conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine, the UN has struggled to respond effectively, and tensions between Russia and the West have undermined discussions on unrelated issues. The war between Israel and Hamas is also threatening to further damage the UN's credibility. It seems like the UN is in desperate need of a makeover. Maybe they should hire some Hollywood actors to spice things up. Oh wait, the Hollywood actors have been on strike for the past 118 days. But fear not, my friends, a tentative deal has been reached to end the strike. The longest actors' strike in Hollywood history may finally be coming to an end. I guess we'll finally be able to enjoy some new movies and TV shows. Just in time for the holidays. And speaking of holidays, it seems like China is in a giving mood. Beijing is being advised to prioritize opening up public data and loosening regulations on the digital economy, especially regarding AI. It looks like China wants to boost innovation and private investment. Well, who doesn't? Maybe they'll even start sharing some of that AI technology with the rest of the world. Just a thought. In other tech news, domain names featuring AI are selling for high prices. It seems like everyone wants to get their hands on a catchy AI website address. I guess AI is the new buzzword in the tech world. MoveOver.com, here comes .ai. And finally, the UK is gearing up for self-driving cars to hit its roads by 2026. The government has introduced a bill that creates a legal safety threshold for self-driving vehicle manufacturers and places liability on the manufacturer. Looks like the UK is ready to embrace the autonomous vehicle revolution. Just don't forget to buckle up. Well, that's all the news for today, folks. Remember, the world is a strange and wonderful place, and it's always changing. So keep your eyes open, your mind curious, and your sense of humor intact. And as always, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any questions? Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.